Hey, what's going on, guys? I don't have to tell you guys things are bad. Everyone that has eyes to see and ears to hear, they know things are bad. I mean, all you have to do is look at the news any given night of the week. It's just constant barrage of chaos, destruction of everything that we hold dear, our values, our morals, our basis in Christianity as a nation here in the United States. Everything is under attack. I mean, anything from the wide open borders where they're just finding just thousands and thousands of these people are coming over, and Biden recently getting rid of the DACA or legalizing all of these DACA people, right, and turning them into citizens, right? I mean, like 90% of the people that are in here now. It's just unheard of. Rewarding criminal behavior by rewarding these people with citizenship that didn't go through the process, on and on and on. You know the whole story. The video's not about that. It's about everything that's going on and the culmination of all these problems that are self-inflicted, it seems, like the energy crisis, the fuel prices and all this other stuff that have just been going through the roof, the heating oil up in the Northeast and other places, or other things that are, natural gas, other things that are just at explosive level prices that we've never seen before. And it's being caused intentionally because they will not allow new refineries to be built. They will not allow people to drill the oil that we know is there. They won't let us tap into our very own resources that are beneath our feet, our proven, reliable resources. So they're kneecapping us, they're cutting us off of our wealth. That's what this is all about. Crime is through the roof. I mean, all around the nation. I did a standalone video, but I didn't end up uploading it because it was so dark. By the time I finished editing the video, I was like, man, I can't do this to my audience because it's so dark that even as I was editing it, I was like, man, this is how far have we fallen? These things that we're seeing in the military with the dog face pony soldier and all this other stuff, yeah, it's funny to make memes about it and stuff, but this is real violations of United States dress code, military code. And I haven't heard of anything being done about it. Probably won't be done. And then they wonder out of the other side of their mouth why they can't get recruits, why the U.S. Navy is having to lower its standards to get people in because they can't meet the recruitment requirements. It could have something to do with the mandatory thing that we're not allowed to talk about, among other things that we're not allowed to talk about. The censorship is off the charts in the land of the free, the home of the brave, keep in mind. It'd be one thing to be hearing about this kind of censorship coming out of 1980s Soviet Russia. But that's not the case. We're hearing about it coming out of the United States of America in 2022. And we ought to all be ashamed of that. We ought to all be ringing our congressmen's phones off the hook and being down there as much as possible and trying to stop this tyranny from taking hold of our nation. But we're not. So just everything is in chaos. The economy, the future of job markets after the first of the year. There's a big threat that, there's going to be lots and lots more layoffs coming. And it could be, the collapse, the beginning of the collapse of the U.S. dollar, which they're trying to do, in my opinion. Everything they're doing, printing us into oblivion, giving money away like it's growing on a tree to Ukraine to further the proxy war that they started in 2014. Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden and Victoria Nuland. Joe Biden was in charge of the Ukraine policies back in those days, and he sent Victoria Nuland over there, backed by George Soros's money, and the CIA was involved as well, to start a color revolution in Ukraine. And it went off without a hitch. They were able to get rid of the pro-Russian duly elected president that the Ukrainian people had voted for. They got rid of that guy because he was pro-Russian, and they put in their own pro-NATO, pro-Western puppet. And then a little later on, that guy, he got voted out or whatever. And then Zelensky came in, and he's, of course, pro-NATO, pro-USA, all that. So he's certainly marching to the tune of the UN and NATO and the New World Order. So anyway, I wanted to tell you guys about some of this stuff. I've been taking notes. I'm going to tell you right now, it's really late at night. I don't typically do videos late at night, but I can't sleep. this stuff is just running through my mind like a freight train, and everything in my body is telling me to tell you guys as much stuff about this as I can before they nuke my channel, because, and in the grand scheme of things, what's on the line here is much bigger than them nuking my channel. So I'm going to go ahead and take the risk, even though this is my second take, because the first one I tried to upload, they said there was some problem with it, and they basically wouldn't allow me to put the video on without restricting the video content. So I'm going to try this again. So here we go. 8 years ago, the U.S. overthrew the Ukrainian government, and they had Victoria Nuland, Joe Biden, and Barack Obama were all involved in that. Their hands are dirty. You know, so in my opinion, the Ukrainian war was started intentionally by the United States of America back in 2014 when they started going in and meddling. And this is not the first time the U.S. has done this. The CIA has a long track record of going into and meddling, sticking their nose in places that don't belong, and getting us either involved in a full-scale war or getting the leadership of that country that may not be doing exactly what the United States wants. They get them thrown out of office, and they get their own shadow government installed. It's just unbelievable, man. I mean, we're not supposed to be the world police. I believe in non-interventionalism. We don't mess around with people unless they mess with us, which is the way most of us probably are in our daily lives. We don't start no crap with nobody, but if somebody starts some crap with us, then we're gonna, you know, take care of business, right? Well, that's not the way the United States has been operating. We've been the bully of the world since, I don't know, I guess you could go all the way back to the Shah of Iran in 1970 when the CIA went in there and other organizations went in there and overthrew the most westernized leader, the Shah of Iran. They overthrew this guy, and I still can't understand why they did it, except for maybe oil. And, you know, they didn't like the fact that he was actually, you know, westernizing the Arabic people and the Iranian people. He was actually bringing them into the future. And they had put in all this infrastructure, roads and electricity and all this other westernized stuff. And the culture was very westernized. The women were able to dress pretty much the way they wanted to dress. They didn't have to wear the, you know, the full black mask or whatever out in public like they do now. And the CIA got involved. You know, it's a long story, but the CIA got involved with all these other guys, these other like mullahs and stuff that didn't like the Shah of Iran, and they started funding these guys. They started funding them, giving them money, giving them weapons, stuff like that, kind of like we're doing in Ukraine right now. I mean, this is an old, broken record. This is a formula that the CIA has used over and over and over. Not to mention the fact that the CIA did the whole crack epidemic and the cocaine epidemic and all of the drug money, probably this fentanyl epidemic. We'll figure out 20 or 40 years from now through the Freedom of Information Act that the CIA was actually bringing in all the fentanyl as well. So I wouldn't doubt it one bit. Anyway, so it's clear U.S. and NATO is currently in a proxy war with Russia and has been for at least the past like 8 years or so. And we started it by going over there and meddling in this stuff. I mean, we would be pissed if somebody came over and did the equivalent to Mexico. And they set up some hostile towards American government, you know, some enemy of the United States. They were setting up down there among the Mexican population. We wouldn't tolerate it. Of course we wouldn't. No sovereign nation that values its future would tolerate any such behavior. But anyway, Russia is supposed to tolerate it, I guess. And so this news article here really is the one that's keeping me up at night. The other day, the veil has been lifted now. There's no like dancing around it. We're at war with Russia. World War III, I guess, is underway right now. And it's a different kind of warfare. It's like fourth or fifth dimensional war where it's a lot more psyops and things like that, and behind the scenes things, and control of the media and propaganda and all this other stuff. I mean, in a way, there's nothing new under the sun. What is new this time around is they have the power of the internet, and that everyone has smart devices in their hands, and that they can control what media you see on that device. So anyway, this news story has really been keeping me up here lately. The Pentagon just green-lighted the Ukraine missile drone strikes inside of Russia, and that was from the Times. So this is not just something that came off of Alex Jones or some other place that you might not think is credible news. This is truth. Ukraine has been sending in these old Soviet drones that they've basically modified and extended the range of and put some sort of explosive device, I don't know if it's C4 or what, but they're setting them up like kamikaze drones. So all they have to do is fly to the target and then fly into it and then it explodes. Well, they've hit several different military sites, including like nuclear capable airplanes and nuclear fields and things like that. So this is a big deal. This is a huge deal. The Pentagon is now saying, yeah, we're green lighting it. Go ahead, Ukraine. Yeah, we've been sending you all these weapons. Go ahead and use them. Go ahead and send them on over there and let's get this war going. So everything they're doing is indicating to me they want World War III. It's already underway right now. The U.S. is supplying high-tech weapons and unlimited money supply to Zelensky and the Ukraine. And a lot of that money is being laundered through places like FTX. I'm really surprised that we found out about FTX right now. Normally, you don't find out about that kind of stuff until years and years later. But apparently that guy, Sam Bankman-Fried or whatever his name is, Q-Tip, the guy with the big black, I guess, afro, I'm not sure what to even call that hairstyle, the druggie, that guy, he must have just done a little too much or, spent a little too much of that money because he got caught with his hand in the till. That usually doesn't happen for years and years afterwards. And the Democrats have done everything in their power to not prosecute and arrest this guy. But I read an article just a little while ago that apparently the Bahamian police arrested Sam Bankman-Fried today, and they're going to extradite him to the USA. So I hope that justice is served and all of those people get some sort of justice, because we're talking about billions of dollars this guy stole from people like you and me. So anyway, after the United States and the Pentagon green-lighted this whole, go ahead and use missiles and drones, Ukraine, do whatever you want. We're going to give you all the money. We're going to give you the weapons. After that, Putin has renewed his threats of nuclear war, and they've changed their first strike policy. And the reason this is important is because like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, the United States announced that they were going to change their first strike policy. So in other words, in the past, they looked at it like, we won't launch any nukes until someone else puts a nuke up into the air. Once we see that nuke up in the air, we'll launch our stuff because we're waiting on someone else to do the first strike on us before we retaliate. They got rid of that doctrine. Putin followed suit a week or two later. The stakes are getting higher, guys. Every day that goes by, the more and more this war drags on, the higher the stakes get, the higher the chances of nuclear Armageddon are. And, I don't like making all these videos that are so pessimistic and stuff, because I don't really have any answers of how you survive a full-scale nuclear attack from Russia when they have a lot more nuclear missiles than us. Yes, some of their older missiles, because they're Soviet technology, may not even work. But it doesn't take very many nuclear bombs that are 50 megatons to destroy every major U.S. piece of infrastructure that we have. Anything you can think of, from nuclear power plants to major cities like Chicago, New York City, San Francisco, Houston, on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on. Every state has at least one major city that a 50 megaton nuke, the Tsar Bomba, I believe they call it, could take that entire city and that entire grid down. I mean, we're talking about the possibility of, if you survive it, and if you survive the nuclear fallout, you're going to be thrust into the 1850s. No electricity, just what you have to survive. I mean, we're talking about catastrophic death rates, just catastrophic. I mean, some have predicted as high as 90% death rates in the United States. And can't remember the exact number, but I want to say somebody was saying like 600 million would die, even if they weren't hit directly or hit by the radiation. They would die in like 6 months after that from starvation. The entire just-in-time supply chain would be disrupted to the point where it would take probably decades to rebuild it. So people don't realize how fragile everything is right now, but let's hope we don't find out. let's all say our prayers that cooler heads prevail and we don't end up being thrust into nuclear war. I mean, it could be nuclear Armageddon, could kill the earth. So if that wasn't bad enough, autonomous drones are now being used. And what does that mean? Basically killer robots. So robots that are equipped with either explosives or guns or missiles or whatever, rockets, whatever else they can think of to put on there. But I think the most likely and the most useful thing right now for the Ukrainians is the C4 equipped drones that are just suicide drones, kamikaze drones, whatever you want to call them. These killer robots are being used for the first time on the battlefield, at least to our knowledge, for the first time publicly. So I'm sure DARPA and all these others, Raytheon and all these other shadowy weapons manufacturers have probably been testing these in real world, real-time battlefield scenarios, probably all the way back to Iraq, but now they're using it. I mean, it's just another step towards just complete dystopian nightmare. I don't know any other way to say it. Orwellian 1984 nightmare. So I want you guys to be aware of the distractions that are going on right now. I know it's easy to get wrapped up in the whole Twitter files and all the different stuff that's going on there, or the daily Trump drama that the MSM is creating, or whatever it may be. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you should focus on, but this nuclear threat is probably the biggest thing going, and the mainstream media is ignoring it. That's why I feel compelled to do these videos. So just beware of the distractions. This is the most important story of our lives, no doubt about it. We're in historical moments right now, and in a way, it's exciting times to be alive. And I'm glad that you guys tune into the channel and you care about these stories as much as I do. And hit me up in the comments if you've seen, maybe you've seen 10 other stories that I didn't even mention here that have increased the threat of thermonuclear warfare, full scale. It's very likely. So I wanted to list a few reasons here why I think they, and when I say they, I mean the United States of America, NATO forces, the UN, the Great Reset, all of them, the Bilderbergers, all of these people, the Davos Group, all of these globalist New World Order people are after Russia. Why do they want this to turn into, why do they want this to escalate to nuclear war? Why are they trying to take it so far? Well, there are several different reasons that could be occurring. Some might say that the thing didn't do a good enough job, and I mean that as a whole. So from the whole rollout after the, what was it called, Event 201. After Event 201, you remember that whole deal, right? Well, another thing came out, and they locked us all down because of that thing. I don't really want to say it on here because I think that's one of the things that got my last video flagged. So that's one of the reasons, is that thing that happened didn't kill enough people, at least not yet. Because these people are clearly pushing a depopulation agenda. That's the one thing they all have in common. And it's the thing that Vladimir Putin, if you listen to what he's been saying, and you read his speeches that have obviously been translated from Russian to English, but if you read through his speeches, you'll see he's actually pushing for like a traditional, classical American style lifestyle where it's family first, you know. Basically, they want to be proud of the motherland, or whatever they call Russia over there. I believe it is the motherland. And they want to have a motherland that's worthy of being proud of. They want to promote the family unit. They want to promote, you know, heterosexual marriage. They've actually passed some laws and basically said we're not going to teach the LGBTQ stuff in our classrooms because we don't believe that's the right thing to do. It's not to say that they're banning it across the board. They're just saying that Russia is not going to promote LGBTQ stuff. And so that reason right there alone gets the NWO pissed off at Russia, because they're all about transhumanism. You know, humans evolving past this point of, you know, reproducing and all this sort of stuff, where we're just like, I read an article a few days ago where they were talking about, yeah, by 2050, we're going to have the technology where we're just going to be like fully integrated with the matrix, or whatever you want to call it, and basically you can live forever. You'll just be able to live forever with this technology. We'll be able to cure all diseases. You know, it'll be able to go through your body and, laser beam, shoot the cancer cells in your body and make it to where you can just live forever, or virtually forever. And that's not the deal that's been promised according to the Bible. So they're breaking that. So there's just a lot of different things that Putin has been pushing for in Russia that are pro-Russian. So he wants his population to reproduce and have more babies, unlike the rest of the West, where reproduction rates are dropping off rapidly. I mean, it's scary levels when you look around. And so anyway, the main reason that they're trying to start this war and they're running this proxy war through the US and through NATO is the NWO does not control Russia. And that is unacceptable in the eyes of the NWO. It's an all or nothing sort of a deal. So that's why Vladimir Putin has become enemy number one. I remember back when Trump was running against Hillary, she was actually saying back then that if they did one more thing, she was going to declare full-scale war against Russia, even back then. Even though under Trump, we had a fairly peaceful relationship with Russia. Although, the mainstream media said he was a Russian agent. That turned out to not be true. But just when you look at these things from the, 40,000 foot perspective, or when you look at the entire painting instead of just one little corner of the painting, you start to see how this stuff all ties together, how they've been pushing for this same thing since 2014 when Victoria Nuland and Joe Biden went over there and started meddling in Ukraine. So Russia has kicked out the globalists like George Soros. And Putin even made a statement one time. He's glad he kicked George Soros out, and rightfully so. Every place George Soros is involved in and his organizations ends up collapsing, and George Soros gets even richer off of that demise. And it's not a coincidence. He's doing it on purpose. He's doing it here in the United States. Putin was smart to kick George Soros out. The United States should have done it long, long ago. But we've got a problem with people like George Soros and, guys like Henry Kissinger that just seem to have their fingers in every pie. We got to put a stop to that crap. And before Kissinger, it was the Rockefellers and people like that have just been controlling our representatives, people that are supposed to represent you and I, the people we vote for, right? And we wonder why things aren't getting done. Well, it's because they're having their hands greased by people like George Soros for the New World Order agenda, no doubt about it. So Russia still believes in masculinity, and that is a big no-no for the UN Agenda 21. They want these effeminate soy boys out there in the world, and they don't want any masculine men. They think that when they say the term masculinity, it automatically is prefaced by toxic masculinity. That's the only thing they understand about masculinity. Every time they see it, it threatens them and obviously makes them feel less of a man, because when these soy boys see a real man, they're like, oh man, look at me. I've got like olive oil arms. I've never done any work in my life. I don't know anything about splitting wood or running a farm or taking care of myself in any way. The government takes care of me 100%. And that's what they want. They want perfect little slaves that don't know how to fight back. The family unit. Russia still believes in the family unit. I can't stress that enough. I've heard Putin in several different speeches talking about how, and the actions they've taken to become more capitalistic over the years, and to get out of communism. Putin was speaking openly against communism in favor of capitalism and talking about how the New World Order and these other people in the U.S. were trying to basically regulate themselves out of business and stuff. I mean, when you listen to the things Putin's saying, again, it sounds like he could have been president of the United States in 1957 or something like that. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And now he's enemy number one. Why? Because Biden says so. Because of some kind of dirty dealing that him and his son had with Burisma, whatever it's called. So one of the more important reasons that the NWO is so hell-bent on starting this war with Russia is Russia has immense amounts of valuable resources under their feet. It's probably safe to say that Russia is the richest nation just on sheer acres alone of like timberland, oil reserves, just you name it, minerals that they could potentially discover in the future. You know, who knows? Maybe they have lithium there and all these other things that are desperately needed for these electric vehicles and these special batteries and stuff, right? Who knows what it'll be, coal, whatever. I'm sure they've got an abundance of it under their feet that they know how to get to in Russia. So that's why Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, George Soros have basically declared war on Russia. And they're using the United States to run a proxy war against Russia via Ukraine. A damn shame, man. I mean, has it hit $100 billion yet that we've sent over there that we know about? And how much of that has come back in the form of kickbacks through FTX and other organizations we have no idea about yet? How much of that has come back and greased the hands of your local politician that's supposed to be representing you on a national level? That kind of money could buy a lot of sway, buy a lot of influence. The UN desperately wants to control every square inch of this earth. They don't control Russia. That's the number one reason that this whole thing is happening right now, in my opinion. And on the way out, I want to leave you with this. We've seen the worst trade deal in U.S. history just happened. What's the chick's name? The basketball girl. I don't care to learn her name. I can't recall right now what her name is, but the Merchant of Death was traded for this chick, right? I don't know if she's LGBTQ or what, but she's got an awfully big Adam's apple, let's just put it that way. She plays basketball. Anyway, that said, they traded the Merchant of Death. Well, after he got back to Russia, he did an interview with a Russian state media organization. I don't know if it was RT or who it was, but I saw a clip of this video. They said, "Hey, Victor, do you hate America? After everything you've seen and all this?" He goes, "Oh, no, couldn't be further from the truth. I don't hate America. In fact, we have a lot in common." So in this interview, he goes on to say that he met several people while he was in prison that were from the rural areas of America. And he said their values were very much in alignment with Russian values and what Russia wanted. You know, Christianity, the family, freedom, that sort of thing, liberty, that sort of thing. And, the right to go out and manufacture something without having the EPA or some other organization come in and say you can't do it. Just regulating businesses out of the country by the dozen. They actually are nationalistic out there in Russia. And he said that a lot of the people that he met were that same sort of way and were in alignment with him and his values. But the problem is the urban people are all basically woke. And they're ruining this country for the rest of us. So I don't know how long we're going to tolerate this stuff, guys, but it was a very interesting interview. The guy said, "No, I don't hate you. We should be allies. We shouldn't be enemies. We should be allies. And the reason we're not allies, in my opinion, this is just me talking, the reason we're not allies is because the UN is in full control of the United States of America. They've got their puppet, Joe Biden, and all of their other puppets in the deep state that are pushing their New World Order agenda. To do what? Control every aspect of your life. Bring in a digital dollar. Get rid of your buying power. Track every single thing you do from here this day forward. If you do something that they think is going to be wrong in the future, they'll come nail you for a pre-crime. I never thought that I'd live to see all of this destruction happening at once in the United States of America. I don't want to go on too long, guys. It's already getting to be a long video. I appreciate you tuning in. Let me know what you think. I think the chances of thermonuclear warfare have never been higher, even higher than the Cuban Missile Crisis or any other times in our history. This is the highest point that I've ever seen. Let me know what you guys think. How likely is it that things just go full-scale nuclear and there really ain't much we can do about it except run if you're lucky enough to make it through the initial blasts? Again, I hate to be a downer, but man, this is the truth. And as long as I can, I'm going to report the truth to you. Even if it's hard news, hard to hear, I think it's important for you to stick with it and at least learn about it. Do your own research, which I highly encourage. I stand for liberty. I hope you guys do too. We'll see you next time.